Today we're discussing yet again about Ukraine, how it is a good example of what can happen if you live in a country where suddenly everything is okay and a couple weeks later you are getting overrun. Your capital is basically seized at this point. There are countless casualties of war. People are fleeing the cities. Look at these lines. This is Kiev, beautiful city. I was there not too long ago. If you remember, when I lived back in Poland, we actually visited Chernobyl, me and my buddy, and it was a fun time. It was a great experience. That was towards, I think, the end of 2019. I was in November, towards the end of the first week of I think it was like November 6th or whatever. Anyways, so that wasn't too long ago. Now it's 2022, but still, it was like, two years ago. And it's pretty crazy to think that just over 2 years later, Chernobyl has been seized. Literally, the place that I went has been seized. There's tanks running everywhere. And there's missiles bombarding, buildings in Kiev. I was there. And it's crazy because there was there were military guards at Chernobyl where I got into a little disagreement with, whatever. And now they 100% have been taken into hostages. So it's kind of a crazy situation. Anyways, the reason I'm talking about this is life happens. And in this extreme example, war can happen out of nowhere. Even in the 21st century, 2022, we are all civilized people, and yet war happens. So what do you do if war suddenly occurs in your nation? Well, everybody runs to the banks. Everyone goes to the ATMs. There were massive lines, and Ukraine had to limit the amount of money people were able to withdraw because there's not enough money in the banks. Because if people do a run on the banks, there is this thing called fractional reserve banking, where there's only a tiny percentage of what you actually input into the bank. You go into the bank, you put $100 in, they might have $10 in there. They might have even less. During the pandemic, there was a 0% basically limit in America. It went down to 0%. Banks didn't have to have anything. Of course, they had money, but for all new incoming deposits, they didn't have to hold on to it. They could have invested it. They could have sent it off somewhere else. So you have a situation where an entire populace, millions of people are fleeing. There's going to be tons of refugees. Everyone wants to get out as quickly as possible because you want to save your life. You want to avoid extreme chaos. And what happens if the system suddenly fails and you have to... Oh, someone's behind me. Of course someone's behind me. And, okay, so some guy's literally just right behind me in the parking lot. Okay, anyways, maybe he's going to walk out of his car in just a sec. So you have a system where it can fail at any point in time, and you have these massive events that could happen. And this is all around the world. What's happening in Ukraine right now could happen in your country. Now, it may not be as extreme, but you have cases where things like these can suddenly destabilize the entire economy. Okay, looks like it was an Uber dropping off or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, you have an entire economy that could collapse. You have basically the entire country that could be overrun, that could be seized. This is the extremist example you could find because we have no idea what's going to happen. And it could all return back to normal within a matter of a couple of weeks, although no one's going to forget, there's going to be massive PTSD and trauma. But there's one thing that people will do, and that is freak out. There's going to be massive fear, uncertainty, doubt. There's going to be massive FUD all over the place. When people don't care something about crypto or investments or stocks, people want to just flee. They want to go as far away as they can. They will sell everything. They're going to leave behind their houses. They're going to leave behind their cars. They're going to leave behind their entire livelihoods. They're leaving behind everything because suddenly, yes, crypto is amazing. Money's amazing. Everything's amazing. But if in 2 minutes your house is going to collapse from a mortar shell and you are deceased, what's going to happen? If you have crypto in this situation, you don't have to do a run on the banks. You have your own money. You have your own keys. You're able to transport it anywhere you want. It's virtual. And if you have to flee the country, your money's safe. Everything is safe. You're able to move. You're able to escape this war. However, if the banks are holding your money, even let's look at the other side. You have Russia. You have banks that have been now sanctioned off, and you have tons of money that cannot be accessed. Both the Russian people and the Ukrainian people are hurting because the war is not one-sided. It has casualties on both sides, and it's not just the people. It's economies, it's entire governments, it's history in the making that is going to affect the next generations. And you could have another pandemic, you could have another war. If you don't have cryptocurrency, this is a dire warning that in your lifetime something crazy could happen like this, unexpected, and you won't be able to access your money.
So we made it to the beach, and check out the waves behind us. So one thing that a lot of governments are pushing for is a cashless society, but not Bitcoin, a digital dollar, a digital currency that they have. We already have digital currencies in China where they take away a fair amount of your freedoms for other things such as the social credit system. And what happened right now, it's normal. Ukraine had to limit ATM withdrawals, and those waves are crazy. Millions of people are trying to flee, and you're left without money. What do? You have to sell your gold, you have to sell your possessions. What if you don't have them? Got to flee without it. So that's today's video. We'll see how everything keeps progressing, but check this out.
I'll tell you a fun story from car sales. So I have these often in my hand because whenever I go outside or in a loud area at work, I like to have my earmuffs on because I like to protect my hearing because my tinnitus will get worse. Well, I had customers at the very end of a long day from 9 a.m. Technically, I walked in at 8:57 a.m. and we ended around 8:30 a.m. At the very end, after 2 sales and 1 purchased vehicle, as they're leaving, as they're in the service garage, I stepped a little further away. My manager was opening the garage gate for them, and they honked inside. They honked inside literally 2 minutes after I explained, because they were wondering, hey, why do you wear that? That I have tinnitus, that I've got sensitive ears, blah, 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 protect your hearing. And they decided to honk inside because they wanted to get my manager's attention, who was standing right in front of the vehicle, that, the battery's low in this key. We need to get that replaced, a $2 battery. Okay, well, you could have brought that to our attention a little bit earlier. The porters didn't mention that, whatever. It is what it is. But you could have opened the window, you could have walked outside of the vehicle, but no, you decided to honk the horn inside a garage where it echoes, and it's a loud horn. Well, now my ears are spiking, and my manager was scared too. He was like, what the, very inconsiderate. And a couple days ago, we had a family, also, at a sale. They put the kid in the middle of the showroom in a vehicle, 2-year-old kid decides to honk the horn. Great. Standing right next to it. Thanks. My ears are hurting. But c'est la vie. What can you do? My tinnitus keeps getting worse, and that's that. Stories from car sales. Great. People always set off car alarms or trip and make the car alarm go off, or trip on the horn, or, when they're walking outside the car, or they do it on purpose or by accident without thinking. But that's that. Thanks for watching.